YNW Melly's sentencing is beginning a lot sooner than most people think. At the start of this week, it was announced the trial for the passing of YNW Sakchaser and Juvy has officially begun. It is right now in the jury selecting phase. This phase can take anywhere from 1 to 5 weeks long, then we will see the sentencing against YNW Melly begin. Once the judge revealed the trial has begun, YNW Melly was seen smiling in court. Melly, still rocking his permanent diamond grills, has everybody feeling very confident in this case. But it was also revealed during this hearing something very concerning. This court order was just announced in the YNW Melly case. Ordered and adjudged that defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from T-Mobile warrant is hereby denied. YNW Melly's lawyers originally filed a motion asking the judge to make all of the evidence on YNW Melly provided from T-Mobile unusable in the courtroom, and they did that for a reason. This evidence that was provided to law enforcement from T-Mobile is massive and has a high chance of sentencing him to life in prison. I was able to pull all of the court files, and it starts with this. T-Mobile was able to team up with Complex as well as prosecutors. Now this piece of evidence was from YNW Melly's Instagram account, as he was having a conversation with a burner account 4 hours after the passings of YNW Sakchaser and YNW Juvy. As reported by Complex, they stated there is one Instagram exchange that took place hours after the passings, which was obtained by Complex via a public records request. In it, YNW Melly's Instagram account says, "I did that" in one message, followed 2 minutes later by another message saying, "Shh." Now the timing of these Instagram DMs will be used by the state to make a case that those messages amount to an admission of YNW Melly's guilt, as these messages happened only 4 hours after they both passed. After a few hours go by, the man YNW Melly was speaking with messages Melly once again, telling him there's a Sig 9 on the market. The state will likely assume a Sig 9 is some sort of slang for a firearm on the streets, as YNW Melly replied to this message saying, "I want it." Law enforcement will try to match the firearm shells that were found at the scene of the crime to what they believe is a Sig 9. Now more of the T-Mobile evidence states these particular cell phones, which were both iPhone 10s, were on the T-Mobile network. T-Mobile has a very interesting feature where it will tell you the environment the cell phone is in. So from these cell phone records, I can tell you the exact moment demons got out of the car and staged the drive-by location. Now with T-Mobile going through YNW Melly's cell phone for several days, they ended up finding a video on Melly's phone. The evidence report states, then also, we have a video of Mr. Demons admitting to doing an act towards 2 individuals in the head. This video was on Mr. Demon's cell phone, which was brought to my office by Jameson Francis. And that's how we had that, and that is all of the evidence that Your Honor has. Now Jameson Francis in this evidence file is known as 100K, otherwise known as YNW Melly's music manager, who was holding onto his cell phones while he was jailed. Now with only the courtroom seeing the video, sources say on YNW Melly's phone, there's a 15-second video of YNW Melly admitting to doing the act towards Juvy and Sakchaser, as well as doing a hand motion of him using a firearm. This then leads us into even more concerning evidence found on YNW Melly's cell phone. Going through his Facebook messaging, law enforcement were able to find out that YNW Sakchaser was set to receive $200,000 from his record label. The lead detective on the case said in a deposition that Sakchaser was set to receive this money, YNW Sakchaser being signed to 300 Entertainment, the same label as YNW Melly. With them finding this evidence on Facebook messaging, the police attempted to subpoena 300 Entertainment during their investigation in order to investigate the $200,000 payment. The detective explained that the company refused to honor our subpoena, making YNW Melly look that much more guilty. This is when YNW Sakchaser's mother, Jana Thompson, expanded on the $200,000 payment during a March 2022 deposition. Though she specified that she didn't know exactly who the alleged payment was from or who it was for, she said that her son reached out to her a few days before he passed. She says, "My son hysterically called me," she said. "He was very concerned about my whereabouts. He was concerned about his sister's whereabouts, and he's just concerned, like something is gonna happen to us. And he told me that he would not get his money." She continued saying, "He said, I'm probably not going to get my $200,000. I'm probably not going to get my money, Mom." Now, around the time of YNW Sakchaser's passing, his music career was just starting to take flight. Dropping hit songs such as Tropical and Back End, it got the attention of YNW Melly and 300 Entertainment. Now, according to records, they claim that YNW Melly allegedly did this act to YNW Sakchaser to avoid paying him the $200,000 to join his record label. If it turns out to be true, YNW Melly will be eligible for the penalty, as he used money as a motive to do this act. Now, this explains a lot of things. The prosecution made a public statement stating that they do not want YNW Melly to serve life in prison. They want YNW Melly to have the penalty against him, as the parents of YNW Juvy and Sakchaser want justice for what happened to their boys. YNW Sakchaser's mother spoke about her son's situation with YNW Melly shortly after. We see Melly's lawyers ask Sakchaser's mother, "I would like you to tell me what information you gathered to show that this felony was committed for a pecuniary gain." They reply, "You know, please tell me what your definition of pecuniary gain is." Melly's lawyers reply, "By statute, it means that he committed this crime to make money, or what have you." This is where T-Mobile hops in. Sakchaser's mother's lawyers reply, "Well, there was, as you know, and throughout a search warrant through Facebook messaging, as well as through Jana Williams' testimony, there was money that was going to be brought to, or was going to be awarded to Anthony Williams, aka Sakchaser. Mr. Williams was set to receive $200,000, and you know, that was in text messaging and also, I believe, in Facebook messaging, as well as the mother's testimony. That money apparently was never obtained by Mr. Williams." Melly's lawyers ask, "Okay, do you know who was going to allegedly pay that $200,000 to Mr. Williams?" With them replying, "Well, I mean, I believe it was going to come through the record label. How it's paid out, I don't know." Now, YNW Melly and his lawyers now need to come up with a defense against all of the T-Mobile evidence, as it is now allowed to be used in the trial. This evidence has many people putting YNW Melly's rap career on a tombstone, as shared in the thumbnail of this video. In these new pages of evidence, they're also claiming that after running ballistics reports, all signs of who did this act towards Sakchaser and Juvy were sitting in YNW Melly's seat inside of the Jeep. Now here's a photo of where everybody was sitting inside of the vehicle. YNW Bortland, being the driver of the vehicle, had YNW Melly sitting directly behind him. That leaves Sakchaser and Juvy on the opposite side of the car. Now law enforcement did what's called the stick method, meaning they used plastic sticks to match the trajectory of the firearm that was used from YNW Melly's seat. The trajectory from YNW Melly's seat showed a perfect match to where YNW Sakchaser and YNW Juvy were affected once they were examined at the hospital. Also, in the new evidence, it states that once the act was done inside of the vehicle, law enforcement were able to use YNW Melly's cell phone as a GPS tracking device. With them tracking YNW Melly's cell phone, even though this happened in the past, they noticed that YNW Melly stepped out of the vehicle. He walked around it in a circle motion twice before he hopped back into the vehicle. The theory is that after the act was done inside of the car, YNW Melly stepped out of it, walked around it, and roughed it up with his firearm to make it appear as if they went through a drive-by. Now this theory seems true, as the shells from the firearm they found outside was allegedly also found inside of the vehicle. Inside of the Jeep, there was firearm shells under the floor mat where YNW Melly was sitting, and they somehow matched the same firearm shells that were found outside in the grass. Again, this piece of evidence is alleged, I just want to make that clear. Now with everything looking concerning for YNW Melly, this is when we even see his mother and brother YNW BSlime do an interview on YouTube. Now she disclosed information that many people believe she wasn't supposed to say. YNW Melly's mother, while on the We in Miami podcast, was asked, "How is YNW Melly holding up while in jail?" She replies, "He's doing good. He always calls and he's always in good spirits." He then asks, "When can we expect YNW Melly to come home?" Now after some awkward silence for around 5 to 7 seconds, YNW BSlime was then heard clearing his throat. She replies, "The month of May, but if a grand jury is picked fast, then April." Now the awkward silence plus YNW BSlime clearing his throat in the middle of that silence suggests that she wasn't supposed to answer that question. Now this could be another reason as to why we saw YNW Melly's mother called out by YNW Melly on a jail phone, calling her a liar and crazy. Now after listening to all of that evidence in this case, do you believe YNW Melly is guilty or is he innocent? Let me know. I'm out. Peace.